Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are listening to the Podium Podcast from. Welcome back to another video, and it is, of course, the 2025 Belgium Grand Prix preview. After what has been almost a little summer break after the British Grand Prix, I do apologise for not doing a British Grand Prix review. I've been busy travelling over the last couple of weeks, but we are back, a double header of Belgium and then Hungary. Belgium, Spa, one of my favourite tracks. Maybe not for the racing, but just to see cars going around Eau Rouge, Raidillon. Then you've got down to Le Combe. Then you've got the little going downhill to Pouin, and then you've got the back straight. It is just an awesome track to drive, and it does not prove maybe the best racing, but regardless, we do have a sprint weekend, which means that it is double the action on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. There's a lot to get through because we have had 2 weeks off now from the last Grand Prix at Silverstone, which Lando won. But we've got a lot to talk about. A lot has happened in the news, so I think let's just get into it. Let's start off with, I suppose, talking about last year. Last year was pretty much a straightforward Grand Prix because there was barely any overtaking. We had, I believe, Leclerc on pole. Leclerc lost pole to, I suppose, it was, I think, Piastri that overtook him maybe in the last couple of laps, in the first couple of laps, sorry. And then Piastri was slowly but surely making his way up the field as Lando bottled another start. But it was, which caught the headlines, George Russell deciding that a one-stop would suit the Mercedes better than the two-stop in which his teammate took because of how difficult it was to overtake at Spa. So the one-stop worked. He managed to pull off an incredible win. Despite all of his hard work, he was subject to FIA scrutineering as his car was deemed 1.5 kilograms under the weight limit, which is mainly probably down to just so much tyre degradation. So he was disqualified from the win, which meant Lewis Hamilton took the win in Belgium, which is actually his last win to date, which is a crazy stat. But nonetheless, it was a straightforward Grand Prix. This time, I do think it will be different. Why? Because of the weather. It is supposed to be raining Friday and Sunday, maybe even Saturday, which means that there's pretty much a competition on every day, which makes a lot more chaos, which is what we want to see as Formula One fans. But just in the news in general, the biggest talking point has to go to Red Bull. Christian Horner, after 20 years, if not more than 20 years, 20 years at Red Bull Racing, since 2005, since before I was even born, has been sacked by his team. Reason why? We do not know. It was deemed a mutual separation, but realistically we do know that there was a lot of ongoing, I suppose, chaos within Red Bull. We had, of course, the Malaysian family with the 51% stake in Red Bull siding against Christian Horner after a scandal in 2024 with him having an alleged affair with a Red Bull employee. It seems that the curtain has been drawn on that with a sudden firing, something that, to be fair, considering his service on a professional level, was maybe deemed a little bit too harsh. He did manage to take an energy drink from the ground to motorsports, I suppose, wins, motorsport legacy that they managed to install in that team. And it is sad, to be fair, that Christian Horner, a very big personality in the paddock, is now gone. Instead, he'll be replaced by Lauren Mecky's the V-Carb team principal. But regardless of that, it does also leave the rumours going around that Max Verstappen will be joining Mercedes from 26 onwards. It almost engulfs those rumours and projects them even more. It seems that Verstappen is clearly unhappy with the team. We're now with a loss of Christian Horner, Adrian Newey, Jonathan Wheatley. It seems that the Red Bull dynasty is falling apart piece by piece, and it also seems that Verstappen is more and more ever so likely to join Mercedes. This is probably the perfect time for him to join Mercedes, a new formula next year, Red Bull also seem on the back foot with their partnership with Ford. It seems that it's the best time now to join Mercedes, and if there is any other time to join it, it would be now. Which means that silly season will also be chaotic this summer. We are coming up to the summer break. We've only got a couple of races. We've got Belgium this weekend and Hungary next weekend, and then we've got a summer break, which a lot of teams like to get their deals done. We, according to a lot of fans, Max Verstappen and Toto Wolff did meet in Sardinia in between the British Grand Prix and this week. Maybe to discuss, maybe to sign a deal, maybe to even just have a chit chat. We do not know. It is all speculation, but nonetheless, it does seem that all the little bits of evidence are pointing towards Max joining Mercedes. It also leaves that question of who will get the boot from Mercedes, either Antonelli or Russell. And realistically, it will probably be George Russell leaving Mercedes if Max was to move. Where to? That is a completely another story for another day. Aston Martin look quite keen. Red Bull could also be a straight swap deal, which kind of makes sense. But that is all speculation. We are going to be talking about this weekend because we do still have a lot more to get into. Because Pirelli have come out for this weekend with a new tyre experiment, something we have not seen for as long as I can remember. We have, instead of a traditional C1, C2, C3, C2, C3, C4, C3, C4, C5 compound setup for the weekend, we are instead having a C1, then C3 and C4 setup for this weekend. Reason being, because Pirelli do want Formula 1 to push, and the teams more especially, to push for a two-stop around Spa. We saw it last year how there was a mix between the two, but Pirelli are so keen on making all drivers mandated two-stop because it also makes a clear decision that the C1 will be the hard tyre which you'll use during the race, but there's a choice between the C3 and C4 which you can still use. That gap between the C2, with not having a C2, makes a two-stop almost, I suppose, mandatory for the paddock. However, this can be disrupted with the forecasted weather, which we'll get on to right now, to be fair. Because on Friday, it is a 63% chance of rain for practice FP1 and the sprint quali. On Saturday, there is a 14% chance of rain, which is, to be fair, for the sprint race and qualifying. But on Sunday, there is a 64% chance of rain for the Grand Prix itself. Hopefully, it means that no sessions are abandoned for whatever reason, but it means that there will be a little bit more. It will be a little bit more chaotic. I am sure that there will be some red flags, some disruptions to this weekend's format because there is just so much to pack in the sprint weekend. Sprint weekend also means that there is more at stake for the teams, for the drivers, for especially the title fight. Because now only, I believe, 7 points behind, Lando Norris is sure to I suppose, bring the challenge to his teammate, and this is a perfect weekend for him to do it. He's always seemed quite quick around Spa. He's got a sprint weekend and a Grand Prix weekend to maximise his potential, and it seems that coming off 2 wins on the bounce, he is full of confidence, full of energy. He's just won his home Grand Prix. Lando Norris will be sure to make the most out of this opportunity. Looking at the track for Spa weekend, for a sprint weekend, maybe not the best place to have a sprint weekend. I was very surprised that Formula 1 decided to do the sprint in Spa instead of at the Red Bull Ring, because it would have made more sense at a Red Bull Ring, because we just generally get a lot more overtaking. Overtaking is a little bit difficult here, but still, with the rain, with the weather, anything can happen, which leads us on to the predictions quite quickly. Qualifying. Let's do sprint qualifying and sprint race. I think that the sprint qualifying will be Norris, Russell and Piastri, and I think the sprint race will be Norris, Russell and Verstappen. Look to qualifying now, and qualifying, I'm going to say Leclerc in 5th, Russell 4th, and the top 3 will be the top 3 which you've kind of had for a fair bit, of Piastri, Norris and Russell. Piastri to take pole around Spa for the main Grand Prix. Will he win the race though? That is another question. which we'll go on to in about 20 seconds. But I do think George Russell will take a P5 in Spa. I do think that Piastri will take a P4, whilst the top three will be Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, and Lando Norris. Lando Norris, I do believe, will win the 2025 Belgian Grand Prix. Piastri to be down in P4, you may think that is a little bit of a, I suppose, curveball, but I think that he will struggle around here. This is a very, I suppose, driver-dominated circuit. This is a very difficult circuit to master, and it takes a lot of confidence to really maximize your car around here. In the middle of the race, I'm just going to go for a Russell, Piastri, Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris top 5. I'm completely spreading my eggs in all different baskets because I need a lot of points. Biggest surprise, and I've gone for Ferrari. Ferrari have bought apparently a couple of upgrades to do with suspension to Spa. They were in Mugello testing, I believe, earlier or later on last week to do a suspension test. And I think that with another upgrade, they can, make another step forward. They made another step forward in Imola, I believe. So this is another step forward for them to do well. Biggest flop, and I'm going to still back Oscar Piastri to be my biggest flop. I don't think he'll have a lot of confidence. He's been beaten twice in a row by his teammate. And I think that he will really struggle. And I think it will make the championship ever more exciting. Craig's prediction, 2 red flags in a Grand Prix. I'm counting on the weather to bring chaos and 2 red flags in just the main Grand Prix itself. I'm going to do Sprint and Grand Prix just because I need the points. But I do believe that will wrap up the 2025 Belgian Grand Prix preview. Make sure to like and subscribe and have a simply lovely day. Goodbye.